rust up in the lens. Ugh. There we go. Now I got a fingerprint up in the lens. What the heck, dude? So, we're back with the third installment of the Hidden Tang knife build. So now we are at the third and final video. At the end of this video, we'll get to see what this bad boy looks like. And right now, you know, it's looking like we're set up pretty well for a pretty cool knife. So the first thing that we're going to do with this is address this guard. Now I'm waiting a couple of days to get some brass black to come into my mailbox from the interwebs, and waiting for that so that we can darken up this brass. I think that that's going to look really cool. I saw in another YouTube video from another YouTuber, he did a knife that had the brass that he used some brass black, and it turned out really cool. It's a really cool channel, kind of similar to mine, just shows the steps of making knives. It's Messy Man Shed. Go check him out if you haven't heard of him or seen him. He's got some really cool knives. He has cool techniques and does good work. So anyway, go check him out if you haven't seen him yet. You'll be glad you did. So yeah, we're going to start with this piece of brass, and because we're waiting for the brass black to come in to blacken it, before we do that I want to shape it a little bit. This obviously isn't going to be the final dimension. I kind of traced out sort of like a starting profile to knock it back, so I think our first step is going to be cutting it out on the bandsaw, and then we'll move from there. So there we go. We kind of just knocked this down a little bit, kind of rounded over the corners, and I think for the most part that's going to be pretty good for right this second. Alright, so we pretty much just put the knife back in here and took a pencil and traced around where this brass is coming in contact with the handle. And that's left us a little line where we can see where we need to remove some of the material to get these two to match up correctly. So I've got that, and then I'm also going to be taking a little time to kind of plot out some grind to lines here and try to make them symmetrical on both sides and around the back, and that way once we start grinding away at this, we'll kind of have some reference lines. I've seen some other people kind of do it this way, and I feel like doing it, you know, a section at a time with the reference lines is really going to help keep the handle symmetrical as you grind through it. So I think the last thing that we're going to do here is just to kind of taper these sides in. I want it to be pretty thin here and then gradually get thicker towards the back, which would lend itself to kind of a smaller grip up front. So I think we'll just throw it up on this 4x36, and we'll just kind of have it sitting, resting here and tilting it up. Now that's exaggerated, but at least you get the idea. And that way we can kind of transition these sides and blend these sides in together before we move on to drilling the hole and using the brass black to finish the guard. You can kind of see what I'm talking about here, just sort of kind of tapering this section thinner as it goes up, just so that the transitions all kind of meet up with the guard. So now that we're getting pretty close, we're gonna do a little bit more touch up here, but before we really start to taper this too much, I want to leave this section flat back here for when we drill the pinhole. So we'll probably do that before we do too much more shaping. All right, so really all I have done to this blade while we've been waiting on this drill press to come in is to stone wash, acid etch and stone wash it. And I don't really think I'm going to show that in this video. I did make a YouTube short on that. So if you're interested in that process, you can check that out. But it's pretty simple and it gives a pretty cool, unique look to a blade. So now that we finally have our just kind of a cheap drill press that you can find on Amazon for $100, now that we have that in, we're going to go ahead and drill this pinhole. And I feel like the best way to do this is to mark where you're going to want to go in at, which for this knife, the tang comes up to just past the flats here. Kind of give you a little bit of a visual. But yeah, pretty much sits in there like that. So we're going to probably put our pinhole somewhere around here, and try to catch, you know, the end of this thing. Plus putting the pinhole up here where we're going to have a lot of contouring. I mean, I feel like that's okay and it would probably work out. But I feel like back behind this finger choil here would be better. And, you know, something further in there should give it a tad bit better grip, and, you know, it'll be able to hold on to the knife pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and mark out this and give our new drill press a go here. Our hole for the pin drilled, we're pretty much ready to start shaping this. I think I'm going to start by utilizing the slack portion with just a 120 grit belt and start rounding over the top here, just to get more of a kind of a circular grip, so that we can then go in with the oscillating spindle sander and start contouring this in to get a good idea of how the front should be. So we're going to be concentrating up towards the blade portion of the handle first, and that way we can get it close to being done and get it ready to take the brass back off of it. whole shaping of the handle process is really kind of slow. And it's going to be a lot of moving back and forth between the 1x30, the 4x36, and the spindle sander, because I'm not, I don't have a ton of experience shaping handles, so I like to go really slow, and I like to just do whatever I'm going to do to this side, I do to this side. And I think that, if you continue to kind of run in that pattern of, trying to get things to be symmetrical, and what you do to one side, you do to the other, if you kind of have that mindset and you take it nice and slow, the end result works out good. I'm sure if I've been grinding knives for 5 or 10 years, I'd probably be able to breeze right through this, but I'm just not there. So I'll probably continue to do some and just throw it on a super fast loop for speed, and that way you don't have to watch the entire thing. That would be incredibly boring. So we'll go ahead and speed it up now, and hopefully if there's any good tips or any dramatic steps, I'll slow it back down and we'll talk about it. So to bring you up to speed, we're pretty much done contouring the handle. We've kind of got it about where it's going to be. We still have some hand sanding to do on it, but it's a pretty interesting handle design. I think it's aesthetically pleasing, and it feels really good in the hand. It really has this finger choil for the front finger, and then your other 3 fingers really fall back here into this groove, so you've got this kind of splitting that up. And I took a kind of a larger contact wheel, the 3-inch, and really kind of went pretty heavy into the sides here and left it somewhat steep along here. So it's not like a sharp edge on these corners, but it's a good drop off, and that kind of lends itself well to the fingers having a spot to hold on to. So I just spent some time hand sanding this, and you can use a piece of sandpaper and a flat surface. I just happen to have a leftover piece of countertop that's pretty smooth and flat. So you just put this up on here and rub it back and forth until it gets to you know, finish that you want. This one, you can still see a lot of scratches in it, so I still have a ways to go. But as I was sitting here doing this, I was thinking something else I want to try is to put a bevel into this thing. And so this is something that I bought when I first started out to try to help me do bevels, and I really didn't like it much. But I'm thinking we're going to utilize it to put a 45-degree angle around this thing. Ready to hit it with some brass black. So I just got it hanging up, and I have transferred the brass black into a little spray bottle, and we're just going to start spraying it down. All right, while we are waiting for the brass black to do its thing, we got this thing hand sanded, and we're going to go ahead and give it a buff. Gonna keep going around this thing. It's kind of dull, but once you buff it, it really starts to kind of, you know, you're able to see the grain really well. Kind of helps it pop. So we're gonna keep going around this whole thing until we get the whole thing looking nice and shiny like that. It's 4:30 in the morning on Monday. I couldn't sleep. I woke up and the first thing on my mind was, I wonder if my knife is done. So I'm out here in the shop. It's a little chilly. But yeah, you know, sometimes that's how it goes. Sometimes when you can't sleep because you're worried about your knife being glued up, then you just got to come out to the shop and check it out. That's how it happens. In the words of my 5-year-old, this thing is really close to being ready to shing shing. Shing 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 shing. The glue up went well. You know, there's no visible gaps anywhere, and this is turning out to be a really cool knife. So yeah, the next step is going to be knocking back the extra brass pins that are sticking out, and we'll probably do that on the disc sander. And drop it down real fast. We'll just do that real fast, and then we'll probably be ready to put a little bit of brass black on these to match the guard. So here I am just putting an edge on the blade. I'm utilizing the Dennis Tyrell system that he came up with, and it just utilizes a bar to go over top of the belt, and you drag it back and forth on each side, and it really helps give you a consistent edge. Here I'm pretty much starting out with a 400 grit belt since the blade was pretty thin, and then I moved off camera up to a 600 and then 1,000, and then stropped it on a leather strop. Alright, so we just finished up the Hidden Tang knife build. And if you've made it to this point, thank you so much for staying tuned to the end to check this thing out. I appreciate that, whether you're watching it for entertainment, or you're just watching it to pick up tips and tricks, or just get another perspective of how other people do things. I really appreciate that. This knife turned out super great. I think the choices that I made with the acid etching and stone washing to the antiquing of the brass really ties in well with the color of the handle. It all just flows really well, and it's just a really cool knife, and I'm really pleased with it. I just put an edge on it, and it's pretty darn sharp. One thing I will be doing here soon is sending this out to my cousin in Pennsylvania. I made this knife for him. His name is Luke, and I am super happy and excited to send this to him just as a gift. I got to see him recently at my brother's wedding, and that was probably the first time in maybe 10 years that I've been able to see him. He actually has made a knife before in the past. I think he's made one that I know of at least, and it was just a super cool knife. I haven't got to see it in person, but I thought, you know what, I'm gonna make him one, and maybe that would give him some inspiration to make another one. That would be really cool. So anyway, after I hold on to this for a few more days and test it, I will be sending it your way, Luke, and hope you enjoy it, and hope it gives you some inspiration to make another one. So anyway, appreciate you guys tuning in. That's the end of this one, and I'll be giving you some close-ups of the knife here in a second. Stay tuned for more videos to come. I've got a lot of other ideas, and like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we'll see you on the next one.